Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk, Monday night, the 11th day of June. Checking in for an RTD Live Talk. And so I really had to do a live talk tonight, even though I told myself I was going to stick to Tuesday to Thursdays. Just because if you had a chance to check out the news update I did earlier in regards to the whole retirement aspect and what's your number. And then I recall like just several commercials from back in the day about, you know, what's your number. And that really bugged me all weekend to the point where I was thinking about doing a video over the weekend, a couple of videos actually, but I'm like, man, let me take some time off and calm down a little bit just because I got so fired up. The more I dive into just some of the news in regards to the whole retirement aspect. So as always, before I dive any further into today's live chat, I want to see who's checking in, and if we have any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you are tuning in from. In the chat, and then as always, you see above my head as well as beneath me the number to call in, because I'm curious to find out what is your number. And so, you know, I'm really looking forward to, you know, to talking, just because right now I'm surrounded right now, like literally I went into my stash. I'm surrounded by lots of paper right now. So all these notes I got in front of me, they all have an interesting story where it makes the whole idea of trying to pinpoint an ideal number a waste of your time in comparison to how all these other economies unfolded. And so let me one of the biggest things in rethinking the dollar and rethinking currency in general is the idea of just getting a better understanding of history, and especially monetary and the economy involved with other countries, especially those second, third world countries that are leading the way in this whole monetary restructuring that's happening right now. And as always, I believe that the Federal Reserve note, aka the dollar, will be the last man standing, of which we'll get a chance to see firsthand how other nations respond to their currency crumbling, to give us an idea of how we can possibly respond. And one of the things is the fact that I know firsthand in various countries, a lot of people, as their currencies crumble, they run towards dollars. And so especially, you know, in Argentina, I know in particular, they're always looking to get a hold of dollars. And so their reserve currency and their savings, in a sense, is through holding Federal Reserve notes. But then that got me thinking about, okay, they're running towards dollars, but as citizens here in the United States of America, what are we going to run to when all hell hits the fan here in the United States of America? And then the only true viable source to run towards, you know, is purely precious metals as a stable hedge, as well as a anchor to hold yourself down when the monetary windstorms come blowing through, as they do in every single country. So we have James from Wisconsin. Welcome, my friend. We got John, Scott, B. Hey Good. What's up from South Carolina? Pad, the idea of weight rather than dollars is spot on. Definitely get your weight up. We got O'Jellin from London. Welcome. It's early morning there, so I appreciate you chiming in. Definitely interested in finding out your thoughts on how many pounds would you need to have a comfortable retirement. And who else we got here? It says, let me see. Will Edwards, that will be the cleanest socks in a dirty clothes hamper. Very true. But then that clean sock in a dirty clothes hamper will have its day. And that's where this is all heading towards, just because I believe that as I always mention, everyone can pretty much agree that the Federal Reserve note will be the last currency standing, just because it's the global reserve currency and it's the most liquid and just spread out all over the planet. So everyone's holding on to them, foreigner-wise, as a hedge against their own currency. But yet, as a result of monetary and fiscal policy when it collides in this country, which we're going to witness, in my opinion, after this next recession officially is announced and the monetary policy that is implemented after that, I can see negative rates with no problem. I can see the need for them to, as the bank situations heat up and people began to run to the banks and there's bank runs, I can see the push for cashless right away. Then the possible rollout of some type of digital asset to reassure confidence back into the population, while in the meantime, the currency, the paper, as well as the digits that will be transferred back and forth will continue to increase, causing a major issue with inflation that will get out of control like in every other country. And so that right there will be a dying sign for the Federal Reserve note, in my opinion. And it's based all upon what happens to other countries, and I don't think we're exempt or any different from those nations other than having the current reserve status as of now. So that's just me. But I wanted to ideally get some numbers here, just because that article, I actually pulled it up. It had a lot of your typical back and forth of statistics of what's recommended, and all that data there, all that information that was shared, in my opinion, is outdated, and it served its purpose during the time where monetary policy wasn't the primary backbone or the glue to our economy. And so since the Great Recession, in my opinion, all the policies that's been implemented has really altered and should have deterred some of the financial experts from giving that outdated information in the form of, not even hint an idea of another market correction. All the information posted in this article here was all rosy, peaches and cream. You need to have this much. It'll be worth your while to have this much of your salary. And I'm thinking, like, at no point did they mention anything about the next market correction, because we're long overdue for one. And so monetary policy has definitely expanded this current monetary expansion we're in to the point where when it does happen, like, just a normal business cycle, you have peaks, you have bottoms. And right now we're still at a peak. And so we're due for a bottom any moment now. And then there's even some articles I want to pull out that I saw today that's just like, it's more and more news sources coming out with the idea that we are due for something any minute now. And so I actually didn't get a chance to cover some of these stories, but I will draw them out now and shine some light on them. And so there's stories saying that, the global debt has went up $5 trillion since the last time I reported on it. Let me see here. So I'm gonna just shine some light on a couple articles here and let you guys tell me if we are on course for some type of debt implosion. And it's all gonna be due to debt anyway. So as always, the phone lines are open, so feel free to call in at any time to share what your number might be or your weight. And so what really bothered me over the weekend was the idea that I was trying to actually figure out how to really just shine some light on this subject matter here. So it says 61% of Americans have no idea how much they'll need to retire. And the question is, like, who actually knows what would you need to retire? Since the idea that the whole retirement concept is only 130 years old. It came out, it was 1870-ish, give or take. And so since that time frame there, I'm sorry, I just missed someone's call. I'm sorry, call back and I'll make sure to get you on. It's only 140 years old as an entire concept. But then if you break it down even further, which I did earlier, you think about the idea of a pension was introduced as a short-term solution to a problem in Germany that was just a local domestic problem that became an adopted philosophy from every financial government or every government and every banking institution. And then it went into the whole manufacturing sector where companies began utilizing the lure of, hey, you work for us for your entire life, we'll take care of you. So that was a 60, 70-year stretch of life where companies were in that time, the monetary conditions were quite I guess, normal because central banking hadn't taken a course like it has now with all this debt expansion, and they were still backed by gold, most of the economies, so they couldn't increase the monetary supply the way they have in the last 45, 50 years. So you wind to the end of the pension era, which was in 1974, with the introduction of the defined benefit plan, because pensions were having problems. So they said, "Hey, we'll pass the buck on to you. You take care of yourself. We'll contribute some, you contribute some, and let's see how this works out." So now we're at the point where 45 years or how many years later, we're at the point now where this current experiment is about to be exposed for just a not so well thought out plan, because never along the way did they factor in the fact that we'd be at 0% interest rates, that, you know, there be the monetary central banks have done everything they can to keep the banking sector in order and say screw the hell with the normal worker and the regular economy. So here we are today. We're about to witness the imploding of this whole defined benefit plan contribution stuff, because now if you notice, the narrative is just what's your number, and how can you come up with a number during an experiment. So it just stuff don't make sense. So when I came across this, it really got me fired up, and as you can see, I'm fired up now. So let me dial back a little bit and answer some questions. It says, I'm sorry about that, I get a little fired up. It says, let me see, the recession usually occurs every 10 years. The last recession occurred 2008. So, Ojalani, that is very true. So this economic expansion that we're on is due for a correction any minute now. And if you use the last recession as a tool or a guide to better understand what a downturn will look like, just say that I think I read 16 trillion was wiped away off of the books financially when it came to stocks and hot real estate and all the things that people use to measure their net worth. The idea of your net worth, nowadays people consider their house their greatest asset. So you factor in an automatic 50% haircut on your house value. Your bank account is frozen because you can't get to your cash. Your stock portfolio is cut in half. Your net worth is you're gonna feel a pinch. And so that whole idea of what your number is won't matter, because hell, you're gonna lose it. It says, when do you see helicopter money happening? Hugo, very point. Helicopter money will be a monetary policy response to the next recession, and one of the legs that will come from the idea that, say, if the stock market crash, the pension system will be wiped away. Then all the 403, all the defined benefit things are going to have problems. So it's going to be a lot of people up in arms for the most part. So they're going to be saying we need, and the government's going to come in and say, hey, we need to interject. We need to inject money right away into the economy. And so let's just do it this way. We're going to come out with some helicopter money. We're going to inject how many ever billions or trillions directly to the economy, to the people around the banking system. And here's something that just came to mind. The whole idea of injecting it right into the economy directly into people's hands is the idea that they're going to then put it into the banking system. They're going to then deposit into their accounts to then use their cards for transactions when they either pay off debt or go shopping or whatever it is. So last time the bail-in came in directly to the banks, and they're sitting in the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. They're paying the banks interest on holding it there for safety measures. And so now they try to unwind that. So to avoid that, because you can't really go say we need to bail out the banks again. So they're going to need to bail out the banks in an alternative way. What better way to do that than to inject it right into your hands, my hands? And so if we get 1,000, 15, 2,000, whatever it might be, more likely we're not going to have it in cash. It's already going to be directly deposited into our bank accounts or credited to us through taxes or whatever, however they try to do this. But it's going to be something that will be then put into the deposit accounts at your bank, whether it be the too big to fail banks or your regional bank or your credit union. They're going to hold your cash. So that's going to pump in trillions. So all that money is going to go right into the banks, and that's going to ease them a little bit because they're going to have a liquidity crisis. And so they get some capital through us, but it's ours supposedly for them to use. And so that'll be just something to pacify the public in the meantime when they try to roll out whatever alternatives to replacing people's retirement funds and things like that are lost. So that's just my opinion of what could possibly come down the line. Of course, no guarantees and how that plays off, but just possible scenarios to run out there. It says I need the top 5 cryptos to retire. I need the top 5 cryptos to retire. I'm building a yacht if Noah built the boat. Is that everything changes by the time it matters? Money will be irrelevant. Yeah, and that's a great point. Money will be irrelevant because I'm thinking about there's a young lady I'm going to have on my show who wrote a great book. I actually went through it a couple minutes ago. So, Susan, if you're watching this or if you're able to tune in, we'll definitely connect because I read something in that book that really made some sense. And it's the idea that we've mistaken money and wealth solely for digits and paper, and that's not the case because these notes here. I'm gonna show you what's happening in front of me now. These so these notes here. So I'm loaded right now. I got millions right now. I'm sitting on trillion. Tonight I'm a trillionaire. I got billions, baby. I got it. You know. So my number is, what's my top number? My top number tonight is what is this? This is my $100 trillion note. So that's my number. I'm going for 100 trillion. I'm not sure about what you're going for, but tonight I'm 100 trillionaire. So anyway, and for those, I'm sure everybody familiar with this, but this is the Zimbabwe dollar. See, it says dollar right there. So this was a dollar. So at one point, this thing circulated amongst the public, and people were. And that's just another example of here. I have the 1 and 5 Zimbabwe dollars. And so these were just normal circulation, boys, in circulation. People was buying eggs, going to work, getting paid. And all of a sudden, it got out of hand. So it just went right on up. So it went from 20, and then I'm missing some in between, but at 10,000, then we got 100,000, then we got 200,000, then we got 500, then we got 1 million, then we got 50 million, 30 million. So this is what happens where, you know, you don't understand how monetary policy works and how your government utilizes the central banking system to bring into existence debt through a private institution that does stuff like that, that makes whatever number you put, you know, on paper and try to work towards irrelevant at the end of the day, especially when the printing press is kicked in and people start losing everything they worked hard for. So the money doesn't care how much you work. Very true. So helicopter money and a debit card. Yep. So your debit card might be the one that you end up using with that helicopter money. Just because, here's the thing, I don't see them injecting cash directly into the system when their attempt, especially having to go negative, is to get rid of cash. So they can easily inject digits directly through the banking system, deposit into your banking account for you to use, with the idea that you charge you a fee for keeping those digits in the bank, which is going to discourage you from keeping it in your bank account to where you're going to be incentivized to spend it if you don't want to lose 2, 3, 4% a month, a day, or whatever it might be, that they're going to charge you to hold those digits there. And then the question will be, what will be some of the things that the too big to fail banks monitor with their cards be able?
All right, I got a question for you, man.
Please go ahead.
Well, first off, I want to say you're doing an awesome job, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you, my friend, for calling in.
My second question is, why is it that when you look at the silver prices, you know, and you look at the U.S. debt clock, why doesn't it average out as far as the silver price and the gold price?
Average out. So let me see. Why doesn't average out? So you're talking about the total amount of dollar or Federal Reserve notes in relation to the price of per metal, per coin, basically. Why is that not correct? So why is it $16.75 today and we got 1 point some trillion in existence? So why is that not balanced out or evened out? Good point. Exactly. Good point. So that has to do with the idea that a lot of the pricing mechanism for metals was shifted to a derivative COMEX type of situation in 1974 when gold especially was basically allowed back into our monetary system as a commodity instead of money. So they regulated and controlled the price of that activity through the COMEX as well as the London Bullion Exchange. So they control the price based upon futures and contracts, basically being able to price what the future should be years and years and months ahead, to where it keeps it at whatever rate they choose for it to be, for whatever rate they choose for it to be on the commodity exchange as a commodity and not money. So gold, silver is basically a commodity in regards to how it's priced now, as opposed to money that balances out or equals out per dollar like it used to be. So it's no longer considered money. It's a commodity like just corn, wheat. It trades along with those items as well. So that's kind of how, in a sense. But it's basically manipulated prices of that particular medium of exchange because it's not technically money according to how it's traded.
Okay. All right. So you can buy right now, you can buy an ounce of silver for like 17, 18 bucks.
Correct.
So when you look on that book clock, it's been that an ounce of silver is actually worth like 5.7.
Correct. And that's, so if you scroll on that area and you read the top, it says they come up with that measurement based upon the total M2 or the total money supply based upon cash, coins, and your checking and banking accounts type of thing. All the money that's denominated in dollars in comparison to how many ounces of silver or gold came out of the ground this past year or last year. So it's like it's 100 million ounces and 1 trillion dollars. They just say, okay, you divide that, you get 500 or whatever the number might be. So that's how they measure that to give us a more realistic idea of the time when each coin must be accounted for in regards to paper.
Okay. All right.
So
I appreciate it. I'm glad you broke it down for me.
No problem, my friend. I would say recommend just for more education, just Google that same information. Why is the price and stuff like that. So you'll get more detailed guys that are, like another guy to check out will be SRS Rocco, as well as a gentleman I interviewed called Craig Hemke. They do a good job of really diving deep into that stuff because they live that price stuff right there. So those would be good guys to check out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for calling, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Price manipulation. So it says the ideal number, Pat. I want to, so in the chat right now, or if you call in, let me know your number. What is your number? What is your number to live comfortably? Or what is your weight? And when I say weight, if everybody watched the show before, you know how I talk about how, it's important to, not measure your wealth in numerical digits, especially denominated in Federal Reserve notes, but it'd be more important to have an ideal weight of precious metals that you can use to weather the storm, because digits in paper are easily either deleted or inflated away, whereas in metals remain constant because they are chemical compositions from the earth, which can't be altered, tainted, feinted, printed, manipulated in regards to its chemical composition. So I'm interested in finding out in the chat right now, or somebody call in, let me know, what is your ideal weight? What is your ideal weight? And I'm gonna actually read some of those comments right now as I update some of the things on my screen here. As I update some things on the screen. So let me read some comments here. Let me see what's going on. View on page, watch page. Nope. Let me see. Gotta get back to my main page. Read some comments. What we have here. Also, audio-wise, please let me know if you can hear me, because I don't like when I get comments saying Alaska Prepper. In layman terms, what is a derivative? Very good one. Derivative. At the end of the day, it's a side bet. It's a bet between two entities where they take a product that is not really available at that moment, and they can say, well, I'm willing to bet that this product or this item will be at X amount of price. So you can actually make bets for the most part in between institutions on something without it actually having to be there at that present moment. So it's basically a way of the banking system gambling with each other in a way that is legal. And so there's a good side to that as well, because from an investment standpoint, if they're the product or whatever it is actually something tangible, something there, then it can be, if something goes wrong, it's actually there to claim and you can receive it type of thing for the good ones. But from what I understand, derivatives in regards to the trillions upon trillions of debt on Deutsche Bank, is no way that they can come clean with those trillions. So at the end of the day, derivatives don't seem to be for you and I. They're for the banking system. Therefore, they're going to hurt us more than they'll help us. It says, let me see, will 403B plan be wiped out? John Miller, will 403B plan be wiped out? Of course, this is all my opinion, and so I would be willing to say It is a digital paper denominated instrument created in the whole defined benefit plan category. And so even though it's through a hospital or whatever that 403B might be, some type of government or whatever institution that does a 403B, but in my opinion, I believe it's tied into the stock market. It's tied into things that go right along with 401ks. So I believe that they all are on the same boat when it comes time to hitting that glacier in the ice and probably having a little bit of a hiccup. So I do believe that it's not something that will be around come market correction time. And my camera's gotta fix my camera. So that's just me. But here's the thing, like if anything at the end of all this, everything denominated in a fiat currency. And so a good example will be here. I have the Venezuelan Bolivar, which is expired as of last January. Maduro basically said everyone has to turn these in by like January 2017, or you'll not be able to use them in circulation. So everybody who had these had to turn these things in. And then of course the new issuance of 100,000 Bolivar with the same picture, it just got the 100. It says 100,000 pesos or 100,000 Bolivars. So all they did was add 3 zeros to it, and it now is no good. So anything denominated, like if you had a 403B in Venezuela, not denominated in this stuff, in what they have now, it was inflated away. It's gone. Like, it's not what it does not retain the value that it did back in the times were normal. So I don't foresee any type of difference in our situation here. And then some people may say, well, you actually own the stock, or you actually own whatever it is that you're in your portfolio. But then also I asked the question, like, how do you really know? Because those same shares and whoever can be passed around to everybody, because no one really bothers to claim or to get a certification saying that you own X amount of shares. So they can just be passing them things around like fractional reserve banking, and because no one really collects them, who knows? So that's something you got to consider as well. So the ideal number is 200 pounds of silver with 10 pounds of gold. What do you think? 200 pounds of silver with 10 pounds of gold. So the question is, I don't know my measurements to that extent to be able to say how many ounces is in 200 pounds. So Pat, break that down for me a little bit further as to how does that break out in ounces? Because when I say get your weight up, I'm referring more so to either you got tonnage because you are well off, or you got ounces because you are a commoner and you are, in a smaller scale financially. But I believe one coin will go a long way, i.e. what's happening with this paper here and those other papers. So yeah, so let me know, break that down a little bit for me in greater detail. Alaska Prepper says 1,000 ounces of silver. Okay, that's legit. What else we got here? It says U.S. coins, not notes. U.S. coins, not notes. Dollar collapse. So yeah, the coins will be, they're metal, so they will retain some type of value, even though that like for example copper, nickel, and zinc, and all those other metals, or base metals rather, they are still elements from the earth, so they will be worthwhile just on some circulation type of thing, just because they still retain value. And I'd imagine that the nominal price of all those elements are going to go through the roof as well. So hell, a dime, nickels, and quarters might be very valuable as well, but become scarce because most people won't be able to get a hold of precious metals, so they'll take the next best thing, which is a normal generic quarter. That right now a quarter is labeled 25 cents, but I think it takes like 2.3 cents or something like that worth of copper and whatever zinc it is to manufacture that. So we'll see. It says, will stackers be hit with the outrageous windfall tax if metals value moonshots? Will, very good question. I do believe that might be the case, just because, like always, to have a small portion of the population to become I would say rich or better off than the majority of the population was not ideal for the government, I believe. So they will definitely look to make sure that you don't get too far ahead. But then there's some advantages with that, because there's a lot of technology, and then this is where the whole blockchain aspect comes into play, because there's a lot of projects that I'm hearing about that will make it so that you don't actually have to sell your metals. You can more so do like a loan / lease / blockchain smart contract agreement where you can put it somewhere and receive some type of funds or direct assets to where you're not actually going back into the system in the form of, you're not selling it. If you're not selling it, then there's no tax typically, unless something changed, which I wouldn't doubt if something does change. It says coinage is not that. No, yeah, it says, someone says, so we talk about crypto now. So I guess, okay, so I guess if people want to throw out the crypto aspect, Dorian Reeves, I don't think Ripple will be on Coinbase. I just read that Ethereum Classic will be coming to Coinbase pretty soon. So it's good to say that they're not on Ripple just yet. So what I read it from the Coinbase. So it's good to say that Ripple will not be before Ethereum Classic. So that might be a little news flash for some. It says, let me see, Ripple is the house. House always wins. Yeah, house, yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm not a real big fan of Ripple. So it says smart contract is the future of blockchain infrastructure. Very true. Very, very true. So I'm not, let me see, 16 ounces equals 1 pound. Okay. Good point. So 16 ounces per pound. All right, so they got to divide that up. So let me get my calculator. Try not to go too deep. So there are 12 troy ounces in a troy pound. So 200 troy ounces of silver is 2,400 troy ounces. Capril, 25. My man, thank you. 2,400 troy ounces. So that's some serious weight there. That's some serious weight there. Okay. So Pat, apart from using that particular measurement, so it says 3,200 ounces equals 200 pounds. So here we got a little calculation war going on, a little calculation beef back and forth on pounds and tonnage. But point in case is, it looks like a very large amount of weight. So if you got that, or you're going towards that, or if that's your weight that you're looking to accumulate between now and that time, then that looks like it might be something worth hanging on to there. Coins don't have debt on it anywhere. Coins don't have debt on it anywhere. Yeah, good point. So yeah, our coins come from our treasuries, so they are not debt. They are not debt instruments. So the knowledge of collectibles that I can flip quickly has proven to be invaluable to me. So Doc of the Bay, knowledge of collectibles. So collectibles, in as far as you referring to numismatics, or what type of collectibles are you referring to? That's about $250,000. Man, Pat, that's some serious weight there. Too much weight. Cloud storage is a better use of our real instruments. Yeah, and so Braxton, that will be ideal when the blockchain smart contract is up and running full-fledged, which probably will reach its peak and most use case scenario-wise come this next hiccup, because a lot of people, entrepreneurs and whatnot, will be utilizing it and suggesting and proposing solutions to the problems that we're experiencing. So it says, Dorian, it says a monster box Eagles or Bitcoin. So that's a question he's posing. So if you got a monster box or a Bitcoin, what would you carry? I would say if you can do both, you can't go wrong, because if one goes to zero, which will more likely be the Bitcoin, if that was possible, which I don't believe it will be. But so if you can't lose on any angle there. Only thing is, it's gonna be kind of hard chucking around a big green box with you, as opposed to just a Bitcoin on your ledger or whatever it is you got. Says tech needs silver. Yes. Idiom is cell phones. Excuse me. To zero, never. Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, this whole excuse me, this whole crypto situation now over the last 48 hours, it's been very exciting. I love to see some red days, boy. Whew. It excites me. I actually get mad when I see green. I just don't like green, just because it's not time, in a sense. I believe there's a time for everything, and it's not time to have green yet. Silver goes up, tech goes up. Very true. Says Philman says, question: if money is worthless, why are we still working? Slaving away worthless paper. If all stopped working, wouldn't that collapse the system? Very good question. So we are still doing what we do, not because we actually need. We don't really need the money. We need the things that the currency purchases. So if you have, your work, your energy, effort, and skill on one side, then you got your house, your car note, your kids, food for your kids on this note. How do you translate this language into this language? I gotta come back to my screen. Only way you can do it is if you have some type of medium of exchange. And right now, for us, it's the Federal Reserve note. For Venezuelans, it was the Venezuelan peso, but they're trying their best to get away from that. In Argentina right now, it's the Argentinian peso, but yet they're about to have some problems. So I also want to get on that and how I believe Argentina's headed towards Venezuela. But so it's just the medium of exchange. So we don't technically need it. So if you choose not to use dollars, you can actually get away with that with no problem, because you can use, if you have someone willing to accept cryptocurrency, or you can barter your time, energy directly, whatever. I mean, that'll be ideal, but it's just not convenient, because not too many people out there actually accepting bitcoins for all those things needed for your livelihood just yet. But the time is coming. So we have a caller. Let's see who we have here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Thad calling from Indiana. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
What's on your mind?
No, the reason why I was asking the question about the amount of metal is because the articles that you were reading were stating that it's going to take $500,000 to $1 million to retire comfortably, or some other formula that brings you to a place in that range. But if you take 3,200 ounces and of silver and 160 ounces of gold, that's $250,000. So that would be roughly half of what these advisors are saying that you should have. And the significance of that is that what you would be doing if you had that right now, you would be locking in your buying power where you are currently. So it didn't matter if the prices went down or up on the essentials, so to live out through your retirement.
Yeah.
You should be able to do it. So that was where my thought came from. What do you think of that?
I do agree completely. And to piggyback on that same concept is, when you look at referring to metals as insurance hedges, or for the most part insurance against your national currency, and so it doesn't take much of an insurance policy to preserve and to protect during a worst case scenario. Say if Federal Reserve note does go to hyperinflationary, and so if it's inflated away 20-30,000%, all it takes is literally probably 100 ounces or 1,000 ounces at the very most to absorb all those hyperinflationary nominal digits to hold as a sponge, in a sense, if it's liquid. And then when the new system is introduced, or whatever the next medium of exchange is, to then wring all that liquidity out. So say if one coin, like say, just using Weimar Republic for example, I think there's graphs out there saying that at the height of the hyperinflation, one gold ounce was $1 trillion, which could have purchased at that time a whole block of residential houses or whatever it was. So if you take that $1 trillion, when the new system is rolled out, they always give you some type of conversion into the new unit. So for example, in Venezuela with this bolivar here, it was like it was some crazy number, like 100 of these will get you 10 of the new ones type of thing. So the conversion over will be very favorable for you, no matter whether you got 3,200 or just sitting on 100 ounces, because all that liquidity, all that paper, all the hyperinflationary digits will be absorbed into a single coin. So having just bare minimum, I believe, will be worthwhile. But if you were able to prepare in regards to what you're talking about now, hell, you'll be well over the charts.
Yeah, and I thought it was very interesting too. You brought up about your T-shirt, how the federal currency failed, and that was a surprise to me. I hadn't looked into that. But what that did is brought up the total times that I know for sure that the U.S. has reset the currency because they've gone bankrupt, up to 5 times. So to think that it's not going to happen here, so many people don't think it's going to happen here, we're going to be just fine, is ridiculous when it's already happened 5 times in our history.
Right. And then if you just look at the whole, I mean, just the Federal Reserve purchasing power graph, which shows that, you know, the purchasing power, like their stewardship of their own product, their product is that note. Their stewardship of that note has proven to be very unreliable and not trustworthy just because it hasn't retained purchasing power, which was by design, of course. But most people are not able and willing to see it from that viewpoint there, to where that's how you can go. That's how you can go so far and say, oh, it'll never happen to the dollar. Oh, yeah. But it's no different than everything else currency wise. So, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think it takes an interest in these matters to really appreciate the opportunity and the wisdom that you've gathered to be able to, you know, prepare ahead of time, because most people, I'll get to it when it comes, when it's actually too late. So, but it's unfortunate, my friend.
No government will ever allow a middle class to be successful or knowledgeable, because a financially successful, knowledgeable citizenry cannot be governed.
Yeah, very true. So it's in their best interest to make sure you're not informed, dumbed down, and distracted.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you calling, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, great job. Thanks.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
Yeah, buddy. That is the truth. That is the truth. So yeah, so I wanted to actually touch on, before I log off, I wanted to touch on just something I've been really thinking about. And so, as I mentioned, I'm, you know, surrounded by all this paper here. And so, just, you know, from the video I did earlier on the idea that, you know, just what's your number, and the idea that these notes here are no different than at the end of the day than this one right here. So having 3 of these things in front of me, they're all pretty nice, colorful ink and all the bells and whistles, but yet it's because of faith and confidence in these instruments that people have yet to actually begin to rethink or to question them. But yet one by one, this one here, and then now this one here, they're you know, put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself as a citizen of one of these countries, whether it's Zimbabwe, we got Brazil, we got Nicaragua, we got Turkey, we got Egypt had problems, we have, you know, Iran right now. So take yourself out of this developed world mindset of, you know, we are conditioned, we've been very privileged, we're very spoiled as a nation, and try to think about being in the shoes of one of these people in one of these countries that's struggling, and just think about the idea of their currency. Like, you know, your currency's value is more so measured according to another country's currency, the Federal Reserve, the dollar. And so based upon how much reserves your government has in its vaults will determine its ability to stave off more inflation, i.e. the depreciation of your currency, all in comparison to how much you hold in reserves, whether it be a couple billions here and there. So Argentina is a great example. I'm heading to that because just this past week, they decided to take a loan from the IMF, or Macron, the president there, who was elected a year ago with the hopes of doing everything different than Christina, the prior president, did, as far as being real corrupt and selling all the governments, all the people's land, and just doing a lot of corrupt stuff. So this guy ran on the idea of being different. And so I remember talking to my friend because he wanted to know my thoughts on Macron, and I was like, okay, well, what do you? I mean, I have my perception of him. What is yours? Because based upon my viewpoint, I rethink a lot of things, so I never would say that one man is going to save or do anything good for my country. So that's how I approached it at first. And so we went back and forth a couple of times, and he was real, he's real, pro Macron because of what the promises. And so I say all that to basically say that, since that whole election of a new administration, he was a guy who kind of had the same rally behind him as Trump. We're going to make change, going to be for the people. He's going to come in and make the economy stable, all these big things. And so now, fast forward a year and a half later, they're they're tapped out. They have no true, other than their natural resources, they have no reserves. They have not many dollars reserves left to be able to meet their own obligations of debt. So they're now about to take on $50 billion, which is not a lot of money. That's the problem. So they're about to go into debt even more and receive $50 billion. So it says Argentine peso falls to record for second day after IMF accord. So here we have the idea, excuse me, that Macron agreed to help stave off true hyperinflation of his own currency. They decided to try to borrow $50 billion or get a $50 billion credit line from the IMF. And so anybody who knows IMF, they're the bankers of bankers. They only exist to lend stuff that they don't even really possess. But yet when it comes time to collect, if you don't pay them back, they will then come in and start seizing your physical assets. So like Greece is a great example of how IMF, they continue, they lend 50, 100, 75, they give you all this money with the promise of you have to then find ways of trimming off some fat from your country, i.e. some of the social promises that you've given to your people, i.e. the Social Security, and as they call it, austerity. And so they have all these people. They have all these people now in the streets rioting, pissed off at the fact that Macron is now willing to borrow from a private institution to help just keep the currency afloat. And so what reason I say 50 billion is not a lot of money, because when you owe a lot more than 50 billion, that's just going to be enough lifeline to meet your probably the interest on who you owe. They owe too big to fail banks. They owe governments. They owe the United States. They owe all the private investors, all the corporate bonds. You name it. They owe everybody because they've been borrowing the whole time to keep things afloat. So here we are. We're at the point where it's at $26, and so this is I just pulled this article up because earlier today it was just $25. So now it's $26 within this short couple of hours. And in my opinion, it's about to take the same course as Venezuela, just because there's no reserves there. And so other than selling some land or selling property, I'm not even sure if they even have gold reserves, because as a part of the whole scheme of getting rid of or not even allowing gold to be mentioned as money, they probably got rid of any type of natural resources in the form of gold, period. But they're rich in oil and things of that nature. So here's an article. I haven't a chance to read it, but just seeing the title lets me know that already the whole 50 billion credit line is going to be a problem, because if it doesn't go through, then you can expect this $26 to 1 peso to be 30 by the end of this week, if not 35, 40. And then it's going to be hard to slow that down when you have people dumping your debt, because they know that they're not going to be able to get paid back in anything of substance. So this right here is what's happening. So I believe that, Argentina, as much as I have a love for that country, I really concerns me, just because I see them going in that same direction, all because of a debt-based monetary system that refuses to just admit that there's a problem. The problem is debt. At some point, they got to just say, hey, we owe 100, whatever, trillion, whatever we owe, we can't pay it. Now get to the table. Let's really work this out, because this system ain't working for us. We're starving our people. Our people are rioting the streets. There's going to be mass chaos, just like in Venezuela. And so they run the risk of their government being ousted, because people will begin starving on the streets because they can't buy anything. And when that happens, all hell will really break loose, because what do you do? What do you do when you got to eat? There's no food and there's no money. So, yeah, man, I'm gonna dial back a little bit. But it was definitely the peso, Argentina peso. Expect this to go hyperinflationary status, even more so, because it's already at 20% hyperinflation right now, and so we're supposed to be fighting for 2% here. So imagine how uncomfortable it is in certain areas in your life now with 2% supposed inflation, where in actuality, if you follow people, things, it's closer to 10, give or take, or whatever. But imagine it's publicly and it's known that it's 20%, to where your current paycheck, next 2 weeks from now, whenever it is, will be worth a little bit less type inflation. Those are things people need to think about. And so the whole idea of coming up with a number, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. But so far, we've been online for a couple minutes now, so it's been a great conversation. I'm happy to see that people have some weights in mind. And of course, This is all my opinion, and this is not financial advice, so do with it what you may. Just realize that, everybody's responsible for their own actions as well as their own livelihoods. Don't expect no one to come in and save you. Don't expect a political figure. Don't expect somebody with the C Series 7 license, all that stuff, man. These people are out here just like you, trying to live, trying to make a life for themselves, and trying to advance in life and whatnot. And some people tell you what they want to tell you to get ahead, and some people tell you the truth, and just be willing to live with those decisions. So what else we got here? It says, when it rolls fast. Very true, Vance. It says it will move from place to place where the guns ain't. International Monetary Fund made up of 189 countries. Yeah, man. Of definitely unelected officials and unelected board members and people all, everybody in that organization was elected by the banks, but not by the people. But yet those people make decisions on behalf of the people. Something's wrong there. It says, Michael, have you read the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins? No, I have not. And that book, Economics of an Economic Hitman, was actually, I came across that tonight as well when I was doing some reading on something else. So I believe whenever I hear something 2 times in a row, that's a sign that I should definitely, get a hold of that one. So Alaska Prepper, appreciate you for recommending that. Pat, Mike, I love where your head's at. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. And so as we draw towards the end, it has been a great conversation as always. So what I want to leave you guys with. So as you see, got some new gear here. So I'm trying to come up with some creative designs to get people to basically, you don't have to necessarily be the message, but if you wear it, it'll be easier to share it. And so to get people asking, like, yeah, what is this George Washington guy? What is he doing? And then it can open up the doors to any type of conversation you want to take it in, because it's like, okay, that's George Washington. He's going crazy for something. He's shocked by circumstances is the name of the shirt. So looking forward to, of course, I got all the colors, so I'm gonna be rocking it more often and trying to, spark some conversation. So as always, you see there's the silver giveaway, which ends in a couple days. So if you haven't, make sure you guys get involved in that. Free ebook, which will be very important for those that are new to the Rethinking the Dollar space. It's 5 reasons to hold precious metals before the next recession. Dollarcation, got a webinar coming up, and I'm getting more and more ideas as time goes on, so I will get that done, I promise. Follow me on Facebook, and if you come across articles that you think would be worth reporting, send me in the message via email at admin@rethinking.com, rethinkingdollar.com, or connect with me on Facebook and direct message me, and I'll get back with you when I can. Steam it everywhere, Twitter, all that good stuff like that. You know where to follow me at, and show me some love there, and let me know what you think. It says Mike Maloney has excellent videos of American money from beginning to now. Yep, Oleta, that's very true. Mike Maloney is the man. He's done a great job and definitely helped me on my educational journey. And so I've actually tried to reach out to him to have him join me on the show, but haven't been able to get in contact with him. So if anybody's watching from his camp, feel free to have him hit me up, or vice versa. Love to have Mike join us for a live talk. I'm sure a lot of people love to ask him questions. And so another thing, just gives you guys a heads up what's coming. I have a great interview I'm posting on Wednesday with the opportunity for people that are interested, because there's some blockchain/AI things going on that I'm looking into. So it'll be worthwhile taking note of that. Then I have some people request Mr. D.R. Shoon from what's D.R. Shoon from? So I have D.R. Shoon was a past guest, and so he's it's great. It was a great chat, and I'll actually pull up the video page so you can see who I'm talking about. But D.R. Shoon, he has a great channel on YouTube. He's an author, older gentleman that's just well informed, has a great story. He's going to join us by request of a couple people, making comments. So I reached out to him, and he's joining us this week for RTD Live Talk. We're looking to have something this Thursday in the afternoon. And so if you guys can chime in, it'll be at noon Eastern Standard or Eastern Daylight Time. But give you an idea who he is, it's the gentleman right here. Oh, let me get rid of this. It's the gentleman right here. So episode 4. So this is a couple years ago, but his thing was buy gold, buy silver, and have faith. So Dale Robert Shoon, definitely check that out. Go to the university page, check that out. It was a great interview, and I'm looking forward to having them on Thursday. We're going to have another good one. So got some more guests coming on down the line, so trying to get more perspectives and whatnot for you guys so that it's just not my opinion. You can get some people who are some big wigs and some movers and shakers in this industry to give you guys the truth from a professional standpoint. These guys are certified. Says Lynette Zhang is the bomb. Yep, James, I had Lynette Zhang on about 2 weeks ago. She's in the RTD University page. Make sure you check that out. And let's do an RTD song. Robert McKenna, an RTD song. Yeah, I'm about that. I was actually, because this presentation now with the blue screen and green, it's time for an update. So I'm definitely going to do something with that. So, Robert, if you have something in mind, definitely hit me up email-wise. Let's talk. I would love to come up with some ideas, because I do have some nice hip-hop type flavor beats I got in mind that if we can put a spin to them, that'd be fun. Says, have it, appreciation. Yep, Robert, have a good one. So, everybody, that's it, man. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, share this information. If you want to support the channel, feel free to purchase a shirt. I would love to get these out into people's hands on their bodies so people can ask questions, and it'll help the community grow as well. So, thank you for joining. Everybody have a good evening, and I will see you. Let's do it again tomorrow night, 9:30. See who will show up. Tell a friend. Better yet, everybody, tell a friend. So, let's see if we can double. We had about 70, 60, whatever people watching at one point. Let's see if we can double that and try to get 100. Help me get 100 viewers on here to chime in and help this thing grow so we can get more people informed. So, other than that, enjoy your night. Talk to you later.